Okay, welcome, everybody back to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo, back for a Week 7 NFL picks. We also will recap this Thursday night, just disaster of a game. Pretty damn boring to watch. Broncos absolutely dominate. The Saints are playing, with not a full deck at all. Multiple injuries. They suffered more injuries in this game. So we'll get into that briefly as well. But we are back for Week 7 NFL picks. Was on earlier with Anthony, doing some stardom sit-ums. Please like, subscribe, share to the Face Off channel. This is also broadcasted on my channel, Fantasy Savvy, on YouTube. So thank you for everybody for joining us tonight. We will be going over the NFL picks. If you guys got some, stardom sit-em questions, some relative fantasy questions, or anything in general, fantasy football or NFL, we'll bring up your comments as we go through these games. We'll try to wrap this up in about, hour or so, something like that, hour, maybe a little over an hour. But we are currently under 500 for the year. Let's just recap our record. We are currently 23, 27, and 1, 46%. Last week we did go 8-4, so it was a bounce back week, but we are still under 500. Last year we were 13 games over, 87 and 74 and 2, going all the way to the Super Bowl. We picked 54.5%. So we were over that 52.5%. So that's our goal. Get over that 52.5%, win you guys some money. And, we got to get this record going in the right direction. This week, we have a chance to get over 50%. I think we will. We have 11 more picks tonight, but we started out in week 2. Didn't pick week 1 again. I was doing my fantasy drafts. Week 2, we started 3-5-1. Week 2, we went 5-3. Week 3, we went 5-3, so we were 8-8-1. Week 4, we went 10-14. That was not. We went 2-6 in week 4, so 10-14-1. Week 5, we went 5-8. So we were 15-22-1 going into last week. And then last week we went 8-4. So now we are 23-27-1. So we're keeping our records updated. We're not lying to you about anything. Everything is documented. But this week we got 11 more picks. So I feel pretty good about these games. A lot of overs. I don't see any underdogs here. Mostly overs. That could be a little bit, crazy. But I think we got something here. So let's get into it. Fantasy Savvy. On Twitter, you can follow me there, fffaceoff.com. Check it out, Faceoff Sports Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. If you guys want to throw a super chat in tonight, you want to bump the line, you got a question, that would be great. We'd appreciate that as well. But let's get into it, guys. We'll come back. We'll recap this game real quick. We'll get into your comments. We'll break down these NFL picks. Fantasy Savvy on Twitter, Fantasy Savvy Weekly with your host, Steve D'Angelo. Let's go. Welcome to the Fantasy Savvy Weekly Show with your host, Steve D'Angelo, presented by the Face Off Sports Network, discussing high-stakes fantasy football, waiver, fab, free agent pickups, NFL picks, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, we'll get into it. The Mets game also just ended. The Dodgers win 10-2. Yankees lose in devastating fashions if you guys are watching the MLB playoffs. So the Mets are down 3-1. Yankees are still up 2-1. They could have went up 3-0. And their bullpen just let them down tonight. But let's get into the game that we saw tonight. 33-10 Broncos. Broncos now 4-3. Saints are now 2-5. After 2 weeks, everybody and their mother was like, this is Clint Kubiak. The Saints are a different team. And then Derek Carr turned back into his usual pumpkin. Now they lose Shaheed for the year. Chris Olave's out with a concussion. No Taysom Hill tonight. So it was Cedric Wilson. It was Mason Tipton, Bub Means, Foster Moreau, Jawan Johnson, Kamara. It was just a disaster all the way. Spencer Rattler did not look good tonight. Looked like he's taking his sweet ass time. Thought he was still back in the Big 12 playing Kansas State. Kansas, he goes 25 of 35, 172 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. So I've used him in a super flex league. Obviously, weren't using him in a one quarterback league. Takes 6 sacks. has a fumble as well that gets returned for a touchdown. He lost 2 fumbles tonight, actually. So disastrous game for him. Kamara, disastrous game. 7 carries, 10 yards. 6 catches for 14 yards. I mean, 14 yards. I mean, you shouldn't even get any points for that. 6 catches, 14 yards. Not going anywhere. You should have to get like at least like 25 yards to qualify or something. Hopefully they adjust that in fantasy football at some point. Cedric Wilson's their leading receiver, probably their best receiver. I remember him from Dallas, 3 years ago, 4 years. Then he went to Miami, didn't really do anything because they don't throw to, the third receiver, but he gets 6 for 57 and a touchdown. So I don't know if anybody was using any of these freaking guys. I know some good people were probably using Bub Means tonight, 3 for 37, rookie at a Pitt. Mason Tipton, another rookie, I believe, I don't know, BYU. I don't know where the hell he's from. I forget. But he goes 6 for 45. Foston Rowe makes one big catch, but he does nothing, 2 for 38. Juwan Johnson, disappointing. You thought maybe with all these guys out and Taysom Hill out, Juwan Jizzy could do something here. 3 catches for 18. It was just a disaster. They bring in Jake Haener late, and he kind of, gets the touchdown to Wilson. So you wonder if this is the end of Spencer Rattler. Maybe they go to Haener next week. On the other side, Bo Nix, a fishing day once again, 16 of 26, 164, no passing touchdowns. Does run for 75 yards, a long of 32. Should have got picked. I mean, it was the easiest catch in the world, right in Tyrann Matthews' honey badger's hand, more like freaking butter badger. Should have had that. The easiest catch ever. Drops it. Should have been a pick. But Troy Franklin gets involved, 5 for 50. Lucas Kroll, I guess that's it for Dulcich, 3 for 41. Javonte Williams goes 14 for 88 on the ground, 2 touchdowns. So his best game in a long time. The Saints' run defense is just hideous. I mean, the first touchdown, he ran through a hole. Nobody even touched him. I mean, I could have ran through that hole. Jaleel McLaughlin had 8.8 yards per carry, 4 for 35. Aldrick Estime, 5 for 29, but he did lose a fumble, so that doesn't help his case for more carries, even though Javonte lost a fumble. But Javonte played well tonight. I mean, he looked good, but the Saints' run defense, you remember last week, Tampa, Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving ran all over them as well. So the Saints' run defense is horrible. Their defense is falling apart. Their offense is, it's just a disaster in New Orleans right now. They lost their corner, Adebo, had to go to the hospital. Paulson Adebo, hopefully he's okay. Prayers for him. That's scary. So disaster. Dennis Allen, probably his last year. It was good to see Kendre Miller get some carries. He looked pretty good, 6 for 36. You wonder if he starts to get more work going forward and Kamara's value starts to go down a little bit. That is possible. We're just going to have to wait and get Derek Carr back. I mean, this offense is just going to be, bad. Their offensive line's losing guys left and right. So, it all looked great with Shaheed and Olave and Kamara, even Derek Carr, and now it's looking like a complete disaster. So, Taysom Hill is a guy, I would still use when he comes back. But good sign for the Broncos run game. I don't know if it's going to last. If any, I'd probably use this chance to trade Javonte coming off this game, actually. I don't think this is like a sign of things to come with their offensive line. I think the Saints run defense and this team is just falling apart, and Dennis Allen's probably losing the team a little bit. Tyrann Mathieu can't even catch the easiest interception in the world. You could throw a 10-year-old out there, he probably catches that ball. So, it's just a total disaster. Not much more to say about this game. 33-10 Broncos, 4-3. Once again, 2-5 for the Saints. The Broncos will get the Panthers next week. So that's a nice matchup for them. And, another week of Javonte, I guess, there. So maybe you could trade him after that Panthers game. And the Saints will get the Chargers next week. That's probably another loss for them. And they do get the Panthers. Maybe they bounce back then. But disaster for the Saints. Broncos keep it rolling a little bit. And that's that. But here we are here for the NFL picks. Once again, on the year, guys, 8-4 last week, now 23-27-1. We think we're going to start picking up the pace here, getting over that 50%, hopefully this week. Hopefully getting into the winner's circle over that 52.5% with a really nice week with 11 picks. So we will start in the London game, and I'll see you guys commenting in there. I'll get to that after I comment on this London game real quick. Now, I was looking at the weather here in the London game between the Jaguars and the Pats. So this will be back-to-back weeks for the Jaguars in London. They did the same thing last year. I think that was when they played the Bills in that second game, and they won that game versus the Bills. But the Jags are, they're a hot mess. They're a complete mess. They're 1-5. The New England's 1-5. Doug Peterson, I mean, getting spanked by the Bears last week, 35-16. The week before, they got a good win against the Colts. They lost the Houston tight game, 24-20, got blown out by Buffalo, 47-10, and lost to Miami week 1 and then to Cleveland week 2. So, bunch of bad losses. They have not looked good. Their defense has been horrendous. Drake May comes in for New England last week. Gets his offense moving. Demario Douglas throws a touchdown deep to Butte. Didn't look the best. I mean, he still missed a bunch of throws, threw a couple terrible interceptions. But they put up 21 points on a pretty good Texans defense. Let up 41 though. So the Drake May era has started. I do like this over 41.5. Now the weather kind of concerns me maybe a little bit. It seems like it might be a rainy day, which is typical for London. So the only thing worse than this Jaguars defense might be the weather. Showery weather with 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. This is per Roto Grinders. Their weather guy, I forget his name, Kevin something, says the look of the stadium, which is open air over the field but covered on the sides, would lead me to think wind impacts would be minimized. But I'm no expert on wind patterns at Wembley Stadium in the UK. So, I mean, there could be some wind here, could be a lot of rain that can make, guys drop the ball, but it could cause fumbles, maybe a pick six, maybe a return for a touchdown. And, the Jags defense is terrible. I think the Patriots are going to move the ball here. I can see them putting up 21 points again. They put up 21 against the Texans last week. I can see them putting up 21 again. And I think Jacksonville could put up 21-24 here with Ingram, here with Kirk, with Brian Thomas, with Bigsby, and ETN. We'll see if he plays this week. So, their offense has been picking up a little bit past couple weeks. The Jaguars, 37 against Indy. They scored 20 against Houston, just 16 against the Bears, but that's one of the best defenses in the league. So I'm going to go with the over here, 41.5. Now, if the weather's horrible, like it's like pouring, downpour the entire game, then I'm, cancel this bet out. And I'll put a little asterisk on this bet too. Like if we're going to see like over 20 mile an hour winds and tons and tons of rain, then we're not going to bet this one. But right now we see 41.5 on FanDuel. So it's going to be official pick in the books over in the London game. You guys, a little action, 9:30 in the morning on Sunday in London, October 20th, the year of our Lord, 2024. All right. Pick 2. As we move into the 1 o'clocks back on the mainland, we got a good game here between the Packers and the Texans. Packers favored by 2.5. FanDuel bet 365, Caesars, and the total is 47.5 or 47 rather on Caesars. That's what we're going to go with. And Texans are 5-1, but been playing some tight games. Barely beat the Bills, barely beat the Jaguars, got beat up by the Vikings, barely beat the Bears. Green Bay, Jordan Love returned in that Minnesota game. They nearly pulled that game out 31-29. Then they take care of business in LA 24-19. Then they take care of Arizona 34-13. Looks like Dontavian Wicks is going to come back. Christian Watson should be out there again. Jaden Reed. Romeo Dobbs is back in town, scores 2 touchdowns last week. So I like the Packers. I think they're going to take care of business against the Texans. I think they got, they'll be able to pass on Houston. I mean, we've been seeing Houston leak some points in their secondary against Minnesota, against New England, even Jacksonville did a little work against them as well. Buffalo, that was a rough game for Josh Allen, but I don't know, he was like getting slammed to the ground. You remember he got slammed against Jacksonville and then came out against Buffalo. I mean, came out against Houston, not against Jacksonville. He got slammed, whoever they played the week before, the Texans, but he looked pale in that game against the Texans. It was just an off game. So this team could leak points. I think Green Bay, they're not going to have any, they're not, Houston's not going to have any answers for their offense. So I like the over here. I see a high scoring game. The Texans will score without Nico. Dalton Schultz will step up. Joe Mixon is back, helping that run game, helping that play action game. Tank Dell looked good last week. Diggs, you still got Xavier Hutchinson. John Mechie could work in. So plenty of weapons. Stroud versus Love, lots of points. And I'm going to take Green Bay at home in Lambeau -2.5. All right, pick 3. Pick 3, we are going to go to, pick 4, Minnesota. Another good game this week. Minnesota, Detroit. Minnesota is favored by 1.5. That's pretty much across the board wherever you look. Total is 50.5. I'm not going to touch the over/under. I mean, this certainly could be a shootout for sure. Detroit has won the last 3 matchups, 4 of the last 5. Winning 30-20 back in January 7th this year, early in the year, and then also in December 30-24, and then back in 2022, 34-23. But this Vikings defense is different now. Second year under Flores, they're more cohesive. They're creating more turnovers. And the one thing that Jared Goff cannot handle is pressure. You get pressure on him, he folds like a cheap tent. And, he starts throwing picks. He takes sacks. You get past that impenetrable wall, that freaking, the wall from Game of Thrones that he sits behind. He sits back there nice and pretty and throws wide open passes to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta and, Jameson Williams. I mean, you give Goff time, he'll pick you apart. I mean, he's very, very accurate. He's very smart. And this is certainly a great offense that Detroit runs. But I think Minnesota, with their defense, with the way Darnold's playing, Aaron Jones practiced today. He should be back. Jordan Addison, obviously Justin Jefferson. They're not going to get Hockenson back this week, maybe next week. But I think Minnesota gets the win here. They're 5-0. I think they go to 6-0. I think Detroit, with that pressure, I think Goff folds a little bit now. No Hutchinson's going to be big. That's going to help Darnold because obviously you get pressure on him. He could collapse as well, but he's playing solid. He's playing really good. Kevin O'Connell, great offensive mind. And I just think they get it done. I'm not going to take the over-under because I think Minnesota's defense maybe could slow down Detroit a little bit. So let's go with Minnesota -1.5 for pick 4. Now let's get into your comments, guys. Let's see what you got. Sorry, I forgot about you. And we got Jamie Fernandez says, "What up, Steve? How about that Broncos defense?" Wow. Yeah. I mean, they've been great all season long and just getting you more fantasy points. I was in one NFC league and I spent $36 just to, get them on my roster because I knew it was a great matchup. And this is a defense you could start pretty much every week, like the Bears, like the Vikings. I mean, these are defenses you could roll out in any matchup. Like I'm starting the Vikings this week against the Lions, to get those sacks, get some turnovers. Even if they let up like 20, 24 points, most leagues are rewarding you for the sacks and the interceptions. Unless, you get killed for, high points and you lose like 5-6 points, that could hurt you. But I like rolling with the Vikings, the Bears, and the Broncos the rest of the way, regardless of matchup. Our boy Jamie says, "Man, I was just about to go to bed. Now I have to stay up and hang out. Indians won. Go try, man. Nah, we don't like that. But that's cool. You're an Indians fan. I was actually when I was working in Cleveland, maybe like 8-9 years ago, driving out there. Went to the stadium. It was actually a cool stadium. The beers were cheap. They had the old man beers. I think they had the PBRs and the High Lifes. I think they were like $5 each, so it was cheap. It was a nice stadium. I did like hanging out in Cleveland, but that was a rough L for the Yankees tonight. Their bullpen, they came back. Judge hit the 2-run homer. Stanton hit the homer. And then, their bullpen let up 2 homers. That guy Fry bombed that last one to end it. And the stadium was going nuts. So they got the momentum now. We'll see what they could do tomorrow. See if they can even up the series. Jamie Fernandez says Kamara couldn't get anything going. Javante had gaps open for him that you could drive a bus through. Exactly. It was a terrible fantasy day for Kamara, but he did bail you out with the 6 catches. So he gave you 7, 8 points. I forgot to mention Cortland Sutton at the top of the show when we did the recap. He had the donut. I didn't even mention him. I didn't even go over those freaking Broncos receivers. Dawn Vele had 1 for 20. He had a couple callback for penalty. Javante 3 for 23, but the killer was Cortland Sutton. Didn't even get targeted. I mean, he was just, it wasn't like he was like he wasn't even out there. So, on second thought, like with Lattimore, with Alante Taylor, it wasn't the best matchup for Sutton, really, and it was really going to be a big running day for the Broncos here because the Saints defense, again, looked horrible last week and it rolls right into this week. And you had to expect the Broncos to dominate against Spencer Rattler. And I thought the Saints defense would play better. I don't know why. I just thought their run defense would bounce back a little bit. And their pass defense would play better too. I mean, their pass defense didn't play terrible, but yeah, it was just a disaster. I mean, the Broncos just dominated the whole game, and Kamara, bails you out with those catches. And you're right, man. Freaking holes were just huge. Al says, "What's up? What's up, Al, man?" Al's the man. Chopped Up says, "Hey, should I start Bigsby or Achane?" I'm going to go with Achane. He's cleared from the concussion. If you guys remember that week 1 game, he hurt his ankle. He was a game time decision week 2 going up to that Bills game on Thursday night. He ended up playing. He ended up having a really good game. And then McDaniel threw him into that game late into the fourth quarter with Skylar Thompson, even though it was a blowout, even though they had no chance to win. That was the game Tua got hurt. And then he didn't really look the same, the next 3 weeks after that. He was looking like Sony Michel out there, and they weren't blocking. He wasn't finding any holes. He wasn't doing anything really in fantasy. So now he gets the week off. I think that ankle is probably healthy. I think he's ready to go here against the Colts. So yeah, I like HN this week for sure. Tank 2 weeks ago looked great. Last week wasn't great. Could bounce back here against the Patriots, but let's go HN against the Colts and their weak defense. I like that over Bigsby. Our boy Josh says every Detroit game is going over. I mean, that is certainly possible, man. Again, the Vikings are allowing a lot of points to receivers, and you got to deal with Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra. I just got a feeling like this could be one of those Goff games where he faces pressure. You look at the Bears, 2 Bears games last year. The Bears are able to get to him. The Bears should have won that first game. They got real conservative in the second half. They were just running it. They were playing, basically not to win. They were just being way too conservative. The Lions came back. But the second matchup, the Bears did beat them, but they really got the Goff, slowed that entire offense down. But I mean, this year it's different because you do have the element of Jameson Williams, which opens up their offense even more. And even Montgomery looks even better than last year with the way he's running the ball. So yeah, man, this game could certainly go over. I'm just going to take the Vikings in this one. But thanks for joining us, Josh. Did a couple shows with him. He's also a very, very good handicapper. So check out his Twitter. It's below there. Josh Abner, really, really good handicapper with all sports, basketball, football, a lot of college basketball he does as well. So check him out for sure. Crossed RL says, would you do Amon-Ra for Bijan straight up? It depends what you need, man. Like if you need a running back for sure, I think I'd do it regardless. Yeah, I'd go for it. I mean, if you have good depth at receiver, if you could afford to lose it and you need the running back. Yeah. Again, I think I may do that regardless anyway, even though Amon-Ra is going to be pretty solid. But again, you do have Jameson. You got the 2 running backs. You got Laporta who's going to get more in the mix. So yeah, you never know how that's going to shake out in Detroit. It's going to change up every single week. So Amon-Ra could be affected. He's probably not going to smash like he did the past, 2 years or 3 years, with the emergence of Jameson. Still going to be very good, but maybe not like the numbers that we saw. So if you wanted to go to Bijan there, I like it. All right, back to the games. Again, you guys want to keep commenting. I'll keep rolling along. And then we'll get back to your comments as we finish up these picks. All right, pick 5. We are going to go to, where are we here? We're going to go to Indianapolis, and we got a total here of 43.5. And let's go with the over here. Looks like Anthony Richardson's going to start this week. And Tyler Huntley will now have 2 weeks started. He's coming off the bye. So I think he'll have a better understanding of the offense. You're only going to hold down Tyreek and Waddle for so long. Achane's fresh. Mostert's fresh. The offensive line should be a little bit healthier as well. And then I think, the Miami defense is not that good. The Colts defense isn't good. They let up 7 points to Jacksonville, 27 points to Pittsburgh. Miami let up 31 to the Titans, 31 to the Bills. They played New England. They let up 10, but New England's offense with Brissett is one of the worst in the league. So it's not a big total. 43.5 with Richardson, with Huntley now more accustomed to this offense, with Tyreek, with Waddle. I think you're getting good value here in the dome. Pittman's going to be out there again. Downs is a little bit questionable, but he should play. You got Adonai Mitchell. Alec Pierce is also questionable. He should play. Even without Johnny Taylor, Richardson maybe will run a little bit more. If he gets hurt, again, you got Flacco, or maybe if he gets benched in the second half, you can still put in Flacco. So let's go with this over. I think there's some value here, 43.5. All right, next pick. Let's go to Atlanta. Another good game and another high total. So we started out the year with a lot of low totals, a lot of low scoring games, but you're starting to see the offense pick up again, which is great for the league, which is great for the viewers. And we got a total of 51 in this game between Atlanta and Seattle. And I just expect fireworks with Drake London, with Mooney, with Bijan. The Seattle run defense has been hideous. So Atlanta will probably be able to run all over them with Algier and Bijan. Kind of like Algier this week, even with the presence of Bijan. But Kirk Cousins should get it going. Now, you got 2 good corners there, but I saw that Reek Woolen was a little bit banged up, didn't practice today, or maybe was limited. So it's a chance he may not play. Still got Witherspoon on the other side. But, Seattle let up 36 to the San Fran, let up 29 to the Giants, let up 42 to Detroit. So, this defense is leaking points. Mike McDonald's not really doing a good job. They're getting run all over the place. On the other side, you got to deal with DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett, Kenny Walker, little Charbonnet. Great game here. Maybe would lean Atlanta, but I just see a shootout here, like a pure shootout. Tons of points. 51 is not even that bad. Look at Atlanta's last 3 scores: 38-20, 36-30, and 26-24. 38-20 to Carolina, 36-30 to Tampa, and 26-24 to New Orleans. And then Seattle, 36-24, like I mentioned, to San Fran, 29-20 to the Giants, and 42-29 to Detroit. So I think there's even value on 51. Like this game could get into the 60s. This could be like a 34-30 game, 31-29 game, 31-28 game, 34-27 game, something like that. So let's go with the over. Again, we do have a lot of overs this week, but in the dome, and we're going to catch 50.5 on FanDuel. So that's where you want to hit that number. for your best number there. 50.5 is going to be the official play. Atlanta, Seattle over in a shootout. All right, pick 7. Pick 7. We're going with the Bills at home. Bills Mafia against freaking Willie Fubu's. Willie Levis. I call him Willie Fubu's. Is he gonna get a start again? He's probably gonna get the quick hook. If he's not doing anything in the first quarter or second quarter, if he throws a quick pick, he'll probably get a quick hook. Let me catch my breath for a second. I mean, he's been just brutal. I mean, they're putting like recently they're kind of like putting the handcuffs on him, making him dink and dunk. But let him sling it. Let him sling it with Ridley, with Hopkins. Let him sling a little bit. But if he does that, he's probably going to turn the ball over 3 or 4 times. And this is, this defense with the Bills now with Teron Johnson back, now with Bernard back. We saw Bernard make some big plays. We saw Johnson made that huge play against Mike Williams. I mean, regardless of Mike Williams, it was still thrown short. He had the turnaround stop. I know it was the wrong spot, but Teron Johnson did like a 360 and came in and picked that ball off. Also, Taylor Rapp was back last week. He made a big hit, knocked the ball out. I think it was against Lazard, maybe, or maybe the tight end, one of the tight ends for the Jets. But the Bills defense against this Titans offense just seems like a pure mismatch. And maybe Tony Pollard gets it going a little bit on the ground. And the Titans defense, yeah, I mean, they've been pretty good so far this year, but they really haven't played anybody. I mean, let's look at who they played this year. They played Caleb Williams his first game. Okay, so Caleb did nothing. Then they played Rodgers his second game with the Jets. They played Malik Willis. They played freaking Tyler Huntley, and then they played Joe Flacco. So now that they get Josh Allen, we'll see if Cooper makes it out there. Even if he doesn't make it out there, I don't think it matters. Even if James Cook doesn't make it out there, I don't think it matters. You saw how good Ray Davis looked. Shakir is back practicing. He should be a full go this week. Fully healthy. Was a little bit banged up coming into last week. Kincaid, they did cut MVS, but Matt Collins, Keon Coleman, Allen running the ball. But I just think Buffalo's defense will dominate here, and the Bills will put up enough points. So I see like a 24-13, maybe 27-10, even like a 20-10, 20-7. I don't know. I just don't think the Titans are going to score many points. The total is 41. So, maybe like a 27-17 game, something like that. But let's go with the Bills. I think they take care of business. They go to 5-2. Tennessee goes to 1-5. Maybe we see Mason Rudolph, which would help their offense a little bit. But even if it's Mason Rudolph, this is going to be a tough matchup against a very, very well-coached and now getting healthier Bills defense. The last pieces they need are Ed Oliver back and then Matt Milano, which will even elevate this defense even further. So good streamer in fantasy this week as well. Buffalo, or good start if you held on to them. Buffalo Bills -9 against the Titans for pick 7. All right, pick 8 and pick 9 will be in the same game. And we are going to go to LA and against the Raiders and Aiden O'Connell once again. I mean, Minshew, I thought coming into the year, they made the right decision based off what I saw from O'Connell last year, based off what I've seen from Minshew, throughout his career. The one thing you could say about Minshew is like, we kind of know who he is. There's really nowhere else he could really go as far as upside, where O'Connell, yeah, he could probably get better, but I don't know, man. Like, he's just doesn't look like he's really progressing at all. Now, it's his first start. Maybe he gets better in this start. Jacoby Myers should be back this week. Trey Tucker, Bowers is a beast. Zamir White may make his way back, but he's been terrible anyway. Madison and the Rams may be getting Cooper Kupp back this week. He's questionable. Looks like he may play. Whittington's a little bit banged up too, but I think he'll play. Kyron Williams, maybe a little bit more Blake Corum. I just think the Rams 1-4. I think they're going to be ultra focused. McVay's coming off the bye. He's been scheming it up. The Raiders are 2-4. They just traded their best player away in Devontae Adams. Maybe that motivates a little, but they're done. I mean, this is Aiden O'Connell leaves much to be, excited about. So I like the Rams here, -7. I think Stafford gets it going. If you get Kupp out, even without Kupp, I'm taking the Rams. If they get Kupp, even better. But I'm going to take the Rams, and I'm also going to take the over 43.5 here in LA. The Rams defense is not good. The Vegas defense is not good, letting up 32 to Pittsburgh, letting up 34 to Bo Nix and the Broncos, letting up 36 to Carolina. So I like the over 43.5. I like the Rams -7. You could also tease it. You get a -1, 37.5 there on the total with the over. So you could do that as well. I think the Rams get it done here. They get to 2-4. That Vegas moves to 2-5. I think Aiden O'Connell maybe throws another pick or two, struggles. And we could see Gardner Minshew coming back into town at some point. Let's go back to the comments. We got a couple more. Jamie says, what you think of Lazard in the slot this week versus Beanie Bishop? Great matchup. And Lazard, wide receiver 11 so far. Will Lazard still have his role, or are you downgrading him significantly now with Adams? I mean, I was never a big Lazard guy based off last year and how bad he was with the Jets, with between all his penalties and drops. I mean, the whole thing was a shit show. He just needed really Rodgers to unlock him, and credit to him. I think he still leads the league in drops, or he's up there, maybe like top 3. But he's been great, with Rodgers. I just don't know if this is the type of a game where I can really see him going off. If Devontae's going to be there, Garrett's going to be there. It could be a lower scoring game here against Pittsburgh as well. I think the total is just 38. So, I think I want to look for other options. Maybe I could see him maybe getting 10 points, something like that. I don't know if anything higher now with Devontae is going to get a ton of targets. Garrett's going to get a ton of targets. Brees is going to do his thing. So, yeah, I think there's a big downgrade overall now for Lazard. And he's not going to play as much either with these two guys. And that's it. So I'm not really too excited about him. Could he put up, 50, 60 yards and a touchdown? He could. Could he put up 10 points? He could also put up like 3-4 points. So, yeah, definitely a downgrade with the presence of Adams. It's just going to demand so many targets. I mean, that's the ultimate rapport, Adams and Aaron Rodgers. And then you got Garrett and Brees involved as well. Josh says O'Connell, Raiders, is playing hurt. Yeah, he's basically a statue back there. So he's going to get hit. He can't move. He models himself after Tom Brady, but he's a long way from that. Javier Delgado says, rate my team and what moves can I do? 10-team PPR, 2 flex, Purdy, JT, Brees, B-Rob, Pollard, Hunt, Swift, Kupp, St. Brown, Jaden Reed, MH, Marvin Harrison Jr., Njoku, Laporta, and he's 2-4. So you got Purdy, Jonathan Taylor, Brees, B-Rob, Pollard, Hunt. Very, very solid running backs. Taylor being out hurts you a little bit. B-Rob not playing last week hurts you. But Taylor should be back at some point. Brees got it going. Hunt's going to be good for a couple more weeks at least. Swift's gotten it going. Kupp's been hurt. Harrison's been struggling a little bit. Tony Montana. Yeah, Tony Montana a little bit, man. That is funny. Jaden Reed, Njoku, Laporta. I think you got a good team. Now if Kupp comes back, you got St. Brown, Jaden Reed's nice. Harrison's probably going to be out this week. You got two really good tight ends. You should try to move one of those tight ends. Maybe you can move Laporta. I think Njoku will start picking up a little bit here. So now with Cooper out, especially, he's finally healthy. He was banged up to start the year. I think Njoku should start picking it up. So maybe you can move Njoku. Maybe you can move Laporta. You don't need both those tight ends. So I would move one of those guys and try to get yourself maybe another receiver. I think you're good at running back. You got Taylor, Brees, B-Rob, Pollard. So you're good there. And Swift. Maybe you could use one more receiver, but you're still looking good there as well. Again, it's a 10-team league, so you're going to look good. But I would say, this is like a B team, definitely maybe B+ team in a 10-team league, 2-4. You're hurt by the Cup and JT injuries, but your team should start to bounce back a little bit. Thanks for that, Javier. Again, guys, like, subscribe, share, whether you're on my channel, on Fantasy Savvy on YouTube, or the Face Off Sports Network channel. We got you covered all week long. Another start sit show tomorrow. Saturday DFS show. I think Hoff and I will be back. I will be there. If not, hopefully Hoff's with me. His Mets lost tonight, and if they lose again, maybe he goes on a hiatus. I don't know. It might be bad. And then Sunday, one last start sit show. So check it all out. Face Off Sports Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Also hit me up on Twitter, or X rather, at Fantasy Savvy. All right, a couple more games to get through here. So we got 9 picks so far. We got 2 more left. We are in the 4 p.m. slot now. So 2 picks left, 1 in the 4, and then we got 1 Monday night game. You got to keep those clips short so don't copyright you. So look, 1 more game left, guys. 2 more games left. My bad. It's getting late here on the East Coast. Dolphins, Colts. We already talked about. Chiefs, 49ers. 4:25 on Fox. And we like the Chiefs here. We like the 49ers. So I'm all over the place right now. We like the 49ers. Chiefs have kind of been skirting by. Let's go back to their first game of the year against Baltimore. The Isaiah Likely barely his foot out in the back of the end zone. Lamar missed them on the play before. You also missed Zay Flowers open in the end zone as well. So they win that game. Cincinnati, they win 26-25. They barely beat Atlanta. They had to come back 22-17. They struggled with the Chargers with, Joe Alt was out. Slater was out. No Bosa. Herbert on a high ankle sprain. They barely win 17-10. Then they beat New Orleans with Spencer Rattler. Big whoop, 26-13. I'm sorry. I think that was Carr, actually. It was Carr. But still, the Saints, it's okay. They're at home. Decent win. But I think they haven't been playing that great. But this is kind of how the Chiefs win now. They're so used to winning. It's just like they're on championship level. They just know kind of when to turn it up when they need to, and and Mahomes can get things done when he needs to. The defense can get things done when they needs to. You're basically going against Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Spagnuolo, and you're getting out coached, and then you got to go up against the best quarterback in the league. So regardless of what weapons are out there, and Kelsey's playing better. Xavier Worthy's starting to get a little bit, starting to come on a little bit. He's getting open deep. They'll probably take some more shots. Juju looked pretty good last week, so he's going to help them a little bit, with the absence of Rice. Their defense is still tough. But I like San Francisco here. I think San Francisco has total revenge on their mind, obviously from last year's Super Bowl, obviously from 2020 Super Bowl. This is a spot at home with all their weapons, with Fred Warner, with Bosa, with Debo, with Ayu. This is a spot for the Niners. I just can't see the Niners losing this game. It's very close when you match everything up, but I got to go with the Niners here. It just feels like the Niners are going to get it done here. So we're going with the Niners, and you can get it's -1.5 across the board. Total's 47, but we're going to stay away from that. We're just going to ride with the Niners for pick 10. And for the last pick, Monday Night Football, we like one more over here to end the night. And it's going to be Tampa, Baltimore. And we like the over here 49.5 in Tampa. The Tampa defense is bad. I mean, their secondary looks terrible. Lamar is playing great football. He's going to absolutely tear them apart. 28 points against Dallas, 35 against the Bills, 41 against the Bengals, 30 against the Commanders. And Tampa lets up 27 to Spencer Rattler, 36 to the Falcons, 26 to Bo Nix. So Baltimore is going to go off here with points. Tampa's going to put up some points on Baltimore. They're letting up points, 23 to Washington, 38 to the Bengals. They did a good job on Josh Allen and co. But even 25 to Dallas. Dallas almost squeaked that win out. So Tampa with Evans, with their running game now, you got Tucker in the mix a little bit. Rashad White should be back. Bucky Irvin looking good. Godwin, Evans. Evans supposedly tweaked something in practice. So that's something to watch out for. And if Evans is out, I would definitely probably want to bet Baltimore even more. But I mean, I would lean Baltimore regardless just because how bad Tampa's defense looks to me. But the over 49.5 just seems like a smash here. So let's roll with that. Tampa's going to be playing for their city again. Obviously, we saw the freaking devastation from Helene, then Milton freaking ripped the roof off. Wasn't as bad. I mean, we saw that guy. You guys saw that guy on the sailboat. They were calling him Lieutenant Dan. He said he was going to stay on his boat in Tampa. And then he said he was going to get off, but then he actually stayed on. He said the water goes up, my boat goes up, the water goes down, my boat goes down. He stayed out there. He survived. So it wasn't as bad with Milton. Thank God that went from a 5 to a 3. Did cross my area as a 1. The winds were pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy to see. I never really experienced like a full 1 crossing over me. Like 5 in the morning, the winds were whipping, but we didn't get much rain, no real wind damage. So everybody was okay over here, but the tornadoes were flying around. But anyway, we like the over 49.5, Baltimore, Tampa. Baltimore's defense hasn't been playing that well. Their secondary is getting torched. Tampa's defense looks, lost at times under Todd Bowles. Again, Atlanta schooled them. Bo Nix schooled them. Even Spencer Rattler looked competent, and he looked horrible tonight. He looked much more competent against Tampa. So that will close it out for the 11th pick, 49.5. Let's recap the picks, and then we'll get into any other comments you guys got for week 7. Jags, Patriots in London, over 41.5 on FanDuel. Now, again, pay attention to the weather. We're expecting some rain and a little bit of wind. If it's a monsoon out there, total rain out, then cancel this pick. But right now, we're going to keep it 41.5. Pick 2, Packers -2.5. FanDuel against the Texans, and the over 47 Texans Packers on Caesars. Minnesota -1.5 against the Lions. Dolphins Colts over 43.5. Seattle Atlanta over 50.5 on FanDuel. Bills -9 to take care of Willie Fubu's and the Titans. 4 p.m. slot. Rams -6.5 against the Raiders on FanDuel. Rams Raiders over 43.5. Niners -1.5 to take care of business against the Chiefs, give them their first loss. And then Monday night, Tampa, Baltimore over 49.5. So we look to get back over 500. It's been a slow start to the year. I thank everybody for joining us tonight. And it looks like that's it for the comments. Again, like, subscribe, share. We'll be back next Thursday after Thursday night's game for more picks, week 8 picks. Again, tomorrow on the Face Off Sports Network channel, Stardom Sit 'em. Saturday DFS. One more last Stardom Sit 'em Sunday. hit me up on Twitter. Follow me on X, Fantasy Savvy. That's it, guys. We will see you soon. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. All the best.
Yo, vintage got the boom.